All right, Coach. First of all, you've had quite the season already. I mean, obviously, the record-wise, maybe you want a few more wins, but just kind of what's your overall message to the team heading into the final game on Saturday?
It's a great opportunity to honor our seniors. I mean, this is senior day, last home game, and last year, obviously, we knew how we had to finish, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of last year. We did drop one game in conference in the last two seasons, but overall, with the adversity that we faced and how they're growing, pretty happy with the results and the opportunity to finish as strong as we have. That's pretty cool.
Is the senior day this year a little bit more special, knowing that a lot of these kids too started, Division III and made that transition, 2 years from now?
Yeah, really. This class and then next year we'll have some of those guys as well. But these are guys that when they came into the program 4 and a lot of them 5 years ago, they had no idea about what was ahead of them, right? And they picked St. Thomas for the right reasons because they knew it was a phenomenal education and ridiculously competitive football. And for them to be able to balance out the program over the last, I mean, there's been a lot that's gone on in the time that they were freshmen till now. And for them to be able to give the way they have selflessly for the university and for this football team, that's what we need to honor. It's a pretty special group.
I did some math today, and I'm not perfect at math, so you might be able to correct me, but I believe you're at 27 wins in FCS play, or you're at 26, could be 27. You're going to have 3 straight years of at least 7 wins. What does that say about this program's ability to make that transition?
Well, I think the way that it all happened it worked out very well for St. Thomas. I mean, for years we've been saying our culture is what keeps us buoyant. And maybe 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, you wouldn't have thought something like this, a move 2 divisions would have happened. But that's exactly what it did. It kept us not only buoyant, but productive. I mean, 2 years in to have our first undefeated championship is pretty cool. And we'll see how all things work out this week, but might be fighting for our second in a row. And it's been a reminder this last 2 or 3 years to myself and the staff that there's a lot of reasons why you can have success in football, but at the core of it, if you have the right people doing the right things the right way, it's not a fancy formula, but it seems to work for us, so we're going to keep doing it.
Right. In a world of looking at stats, maybe the one that jumps out to me the most is you're 14-0 at home since you've gone to FCS. I mean, what does that say about maintaining that home field advantage?
Well, I think simply being able to play here and the tradition that has been built up over the years is impressive. I don't know the exact number, but I do know we have the nation's longest home win streak. And just really happy to see that even with the transition, to your point, we've been able to keep that tradition strong. And there are guys who are going to come back from all over the country on Saturday to watch and honor these seniors. And when they watch us play, yes, we're playing a higher level. Yes, the guys are bigger and faster, no doubt. Our trips aren't, up Snelling Avenue anymore. They're across the country on a charter flight. But we're still doing it with Upper Midwest kids, with Minnesota kids, and they're still producing at the highest rate no matter what pond they're swimming in. And right now, it's pretty fun to watch.
You alluded to it a minute ago. There is a small elephant in the room on Saturday with you need Drake to lose, and they play before you guys. I understand you might have it. I don't know how much you follow that. I mean, I'm sure you're locked in on getting your win on Saturday. But just what is that whole process like in terms of maybe scoreboard watching on Saturday?
Well, frankly, we don't control it because we're not undefeated this year. We've actually lost a game in conference, and I'd rather that not been the case, but it is what it is. So when it gets to game day, that's not something that you focus on. I mean, once you step on the field, the focus has to be on what we can do that we control. And that's one of the reasons I think we're in the position we're in. After all of the adversity and the injuries that we faced this year, and then playing a lot of young guys, playing several freshmen that we didn't necessarily think we would play, to be able to be in this position is pretty awesome.
Yeah, quite the backfield. What do you make out of your 2 top backs this year?
Well, top 3, I would say. I mean, certainly there's, Hope Adebayo and Sean Shipman, Gabe Abel. Last week, Gabe Abel got the start, and that was actually his first start, even though he's already had 300-yard games, right? So to be able to have 3 legitimate backs, I've said for years I'm not interested in being the head coach of a program that doesn't have 3 legitimate starting running backs. And we've been blessed to be able to recruit to it, retain to it, and coach to that. But the biggest thing this year is we stayed healthy, because last year, even though we were a healthier team globally last year, it did hit our running back position group. And I don't know if there was a week that we had all 3 of them ready. and each of them had a 100-yard game at different times, and they all had 2 of them. So to be able to have those types of guys that can handle the ball, especially when you're breaking in a new quarterback, and a lot of those things certainly help, and that's part and parcel of why the success is. We have gone against 4 different backs that they didn't finish the game. They were starters and they didn't finish our game, and two more of them were not as productive in the fourth quarter as they were in the first quarter, for sure, because of the way that we're able to stop the run. And to be able to, last week out of San Diego, overtime game, and Hope Adebayo, who had only had 5 or 6 carries to that point, roll him in overtime when he's fresh. And he went boom, 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 touchdown, school song, get back on the plane, come back home. So it was pretty cool.
There's so much that transpires over an 11-game season. I don't know if you can wrap it up into one sentiment, but just kind of maybe what's going to be your biggest takeaway from this season?
I think to be able to celebrate those guys, as you alluded to earlier, that allowed us to stay buoyant and very, very productive during, you're talking about a global pandemic. You're talking about a total shift in recruiting, a different league, different teams, coast to coast, border to border, not to mention going up 2 levels in division, right? So having that stalwart, mentally tough leadership, I don't think there's any better headline for us than focusing on the guys that got us here. And my dad used to say, when you go to a dance, you dance with who brung you. And it's pretty fun to be able to do that this time of year, Jeff.
Ready? Hot. Ready? Hot.
Yep.
Which one we go?